What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to 6 Picks, a quick little series where I go through the 6 picks that stand out to me as the best bets against the spread in the NFL every week. There's been a lot of Bears analysis that's gotten in the way of this over the last 2 weeks, but let's get back at it now in a week that should be pretty kind to favorites, starting with my first pick where I really like Los Angeles Rams with 3.5 points over Miami. Now, some Bears fans I'm sure are going to think that this is just recency bias, but if the Rams have done one thing well this year, it's beat bad teams. And Miami hasn't been that bad a team, but they made a switch at quarterback, starting Tua Tagovailoa over Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's been on a heater, and I think that that's going to result in a dysfunctional day for a Miami offense that's facing a better than expected Rams defense. With Jalen Ramsey as good as he is, taking away an option on every single offensive play, safety John Johnson displaying extraordinary range in the backfield, and of course, one of the best defensive players in the league in Aaron Donald, this should be a tough start for Tua, and it won't surprise me if the Rams should beat him probably 26, maybe even 30 to around 13 or 16. That in mind, you better believe I like the Rams on this one. I'll take them minus 3.5. Now, if you haven't figured it out by now, I tend to pick 4 picks I'm really confident in and 2 that I think are just interesting, and this is one of them, where I like Cleveland at home against a really good Raiders team because of something I think not a lot of people are talking about. I looked at the forecast. Tomorrow, it's going to be around 50 degrees with a 100% chance of precipitation. That means it's going to be cold and rainy. You couldn't get more different conditions than the Raiders have been playing in, especially with Derek Carr being a California boy, and it won't surprise me if the Raiders' offense has a little less gas than usual. Their defense is a problem and has been for their team all year, so I expect another day out of the hot and cold Baker Mayfield that should at least be able to cover the 2.5 points that they have to beat the spread. I'll take Cleveland, the home team, against an up and down Raiders team that sure, they could beat anybody, but they could lose to anybody just the same, and in these non-dome, not great conditions, I'll take the team that's experienced playing in the weather even though they're without Odell Beckham Jr. And as I said at the start of the show, this is a big week for favorites, and that's not going to change here in my third pick, as you better believe I like Philadelphia, even minus 10.5 at home against a Dallas team that, oh my goodness, are they struggling. I know, the Jets have been one of the worst teams in the NFL and have yet to win a game, but this Cowboys team, hot take, it might be worse. The Washington football team is not a great club, and even they were able to just smash the Cowboys last week, and against a Philadelphia rival that's starting to get back on its feet and certainly hates playing Dallas, it won't surprise me if they put some distance between themselves and their rivals in blue and silver. I've seen this story before, and I used to get really excited about when a no-name rookie would make his first start against a decent team, but even with Ezekiel Elliott and a complement of really good skill players, I just don't think DiNucci is going to be ready for what he has to do against the Eagles behind that Cowboys offensive line, and I certainly don't think the Dallas defense is going to do much to stop Philly's attack. It's less of an endorsement of Philadelphia and more me degrading on Dallas, but yes, either way, I think Philly should be able to cover the 10.5 point spread fairly easily. I'll take the Eagles. And for my fourth pick, I understand the Bengals have been playing pretty good football lately, but even so, only giving them 7 points against Tennessee doesn't feel like enough. In the Titans game against the Steelers, Tennessee started down 7-24, which is about as bad as you could ask for, and even then they didn't quit, their talent shone through, and they almost won it at the end, ended up losing 27-24 to the Steelers, who are one of the best teams in football. Based on what Tennessee's done to the Bills and other teams around the country, in my opinion, they're quickly becoming much like the Chiefs and the Steelers in that you need to take them whenever you can, because the moment they let us down will be the first one in a while. I'll take Tennessee, even minus 7 here against a Bengals team that I don't know if they're ready to really fight against one of the NFL's best just yet. Granted, I've doubted the Bengals before, and they've bitten me in the butt a couple of times, so if Joe Burrow does end up impressing and at least keeps the game within 7, let alone if they win, I will be shocked, and that'll be much to his credit. But at the moment, I think the smartest thing you can do is take the championship-level Titans squad over this Bengals team, even though they're -7, and dare the Bengals to play 2 good games in a row. I just don't know if they're ready yet. And moving on to my 5th pick of the week, I am shocked that the Steelers get 4.5 points as they march into Baltimore. Sure, the Ravens are a very, very good football team, but the Steelers are the class of the NFL right now, with an effective defense that's incredibly hard to score on and an efficient offense that's putting points up against anybody. The Steelers are the best running defense in the NFL and look ferocious as they do it, and I certainly trust their offense to put at least some points on the board, somewhere in the 26 to 24 region. I think that should be enough against a Baltimore team that is a very, very good football team. Don't get me wrong, but I think they're a little more limited this year than they were last year. I'll take the Steelers, especially because I get points and I just don't have to think that hard about it. And finally, let's get to my final pick of the week, where you better believe I like Green Bay -6 against the rival visiting Minnesota Vikings. As the Vikings traded away Yannick Ngakoue, they basically threw up the flag that said, "We're tanking, don't worry about it, we just want to try to reset the franchise at quarterback in the draft," or at least that's how I'm reading it. And given that, it won't surprise me at all if Green Bay, who operated on cruise control as they destroyed the Texans 35-20, will take care of the Vikings and win by at least a score. Sure, maybe there's a chance that the Vikings march into Lambeau Field and play the game of their life, but again, if they're tanking, all that would do is hurt them in the 2021 draft, and therefore it won't surprise me. I don't know if they're gonna try to lose, but again, if they just don't come out looking great, and Green Bay, who wants that first round bye, is going to thump them and send them right back to Minnesota. As a Bears fan, it pains me to say it, but the Packers look extremely good this year, and as long as Aaron Rodgers can keep up his extraordinary and, again, elite level of play, they should put space between them and the Vikings. I easily have them winning and covering that 6-point margin. And if you made it all the way to the end of the video and you're noticing that I didn't take the Bears or go against the Bears in this one, know that it's because with Allen Robinson playing and Emmanuel Sanders, Michael Thomas, and that other Saints receiver out, I actually don't know which way this game's gonna go. If you ask me to tell you what I think it's the Saints. If you ask me to tell you what I hope it's the Bears. And the two are completely out of alignment right now because realistically there are a lot of directions that this game could go. Even things as simple as a 40-year-old Drew Brees playing in chilly Chicago conditions against a Bears defense that just got embarrassed against the Rams and wants to make a statement could tilt this thing in Chicago's direction. But on the other side of the ball, is Allen Robinson's appearance enough to offset the fact that the Bears are starting 2 guys that debatably should be on practice squads right now in Sam Mustipher and Rashad Coward? I don't know. Both of these offenses could majorly struggle to score. If you ask me to pick between Matt Nagy and Sean Payton as for who could potentially generate the most out of not a very good offensive personnel set, I'd still take Sean Payton as much as I think Matt Nagy can do things well here and there. Both offenses are massively under the gun tomorrow, and it'll just be a matter of which defense dominates the opposing offense harder, and that means that this is a game that if it was my money, I would stay away from, and I'm just curious to see how it plays out because, especially for Chicago, this game could signal a massive turning point in the season one way or another. But at this point, I'm tired of waiting, and I just can't wait to see the two line up and square off. And that's going to be it for this week, folks. What do you think? Are there any of my picks that you particularly like? Are there any of my picks you think that I'm crazy about? Go ahead and let me know in the comments, and if you like this video, leave it a like. If you dislike it, leave it a dislike. And if you have any feedback to provide, I am always open to listening. It should be another great week of football, and I can't wait for it to get started. So until next time, folks, have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you next time.